Tales of the Pirate Gospel, a somewhat free retelling of the Gospel of Mark, written and read by Andrew Moody. Chapter 1 of his first Appearin. Now listen up. I got good tidings for you. This here's a tale that'll shake up your timbers and rewrite your maps. It tells of a man sent to steer the world to rights, the captain of the world, aye, and the Son of the Almighty himself. The first wind we got of him was through a cove by the name of John the Baptizer. This fella turned up at the mouth of the river Jordan, on the edge of the Judean desert. He was baptizing folks, dunking them in water and telling them to turn from their wicked ways. The folks from all around was going out to see him. They was coming clean about their scurvy dealings, and he was washing them in the river. He was a rare bird, that John, like a prophet out of the old tomes. He came wearing duds made out of camel hair and eating weevils and honey. The message on his lips was out of the old tomes too. Another man be a-comin', he said, a man so great that I ain't worthy to lick his boots. He'll do more'n dunk ye in water. He'll pour out the Spirit of the Almighty himself. Now while this was going on, the very man that John was talking about showed up. His name was Jesus, and he just rode himself across from Nazareth to have himself dunked along with the rest. But it turned out he weren't like the rest. Rum things began to happen when Jesus came up from them waves, for he looked up and beheld the Spirit of the Almighty coming down like a bird through a rip in the canvas of heaven. And as that bird was perching on his shoulder, there came a mighty voice from the heaven saying, "Here ye be, me own beloved Son. Mighty pleased I be with you, lad." So that was how it started with this fella Jesus. But there was plenty more to come. Straight off, the Spirit sent him out into the desert, and so off he went. Marooned he was, for 40 days. There was no grub, and no drink, and no sail on the horizon. Just himself living out amid the dunes and beasts. And in the end the devil himself showed up and plied him with honeyed lies to make him turn mutinous against the Almighty. Aye, but he stood firm, and the angels came and attended him. Soon after this, John the Baptizer was clapped in irons. I'll tell you more of that tale shortly. But it was like a signal for Jesus. He legged it up to the coast of Galilee and began telling all and sundry that there was good tidings from the Almighty. "'Tis the last watch," he told them. "Sharpen up, swab your decks, set your wrongs to right. Ready yourselves for fair winds from heaven." In the town of Capernaum, Jesus got himself a ship and began gathering a crew. As he was trawling by the quayside, he spied himself a pair of jacks by the name of Simon and Andrew. He was sitting in their longboat, a-dangling their nets in the drink. "Ahoy, lads," he called. "Join me crew, and you'll soon be catching something worth more than fishes. I'll have you hooking the very souls of men." Well, that made him look lively. They chucked in their fishing and took after him. Not too much farther, and he came across some other young tars, James and John, whelps out of an old dog named Zebedee. They was sitting in a ketch, mending their tackle. As soon as Jesus fixed his eye on them, they grabbed their kit and jumped ship right enough. On the Sabbath, Jesus made his way to the chapel, where he held forth like a preacher man. But he weren't no platitudinous pansy parson. When Jesus strode the pulpit, he spoke with the mighty words of God himself, and all the folks that sat there gaped. As he schooled them, there sprang up in their midst an addled cove who was possessed of a devil. "What be your truck with us?" he slavered. "I know who ye be. Ye be the Holy One sent from the Almighty." "Stow that lip," growled Jesus with a glinting eye. Let go this swab, ye fiend. And lo and behold, the devil was in that cove up and shipped out before you could draw your blade. Well, after that, weren't all the folks blinking and gasping. Who be this? They was jabbering. He lays down a line to the devils and they toes it. And the news about Jesus blew through the seaports like a gale in June. After chapel, they retired to the lodgings of Simon and Andrew. Now the mistress of the house was laid low with a fever, and when Jesus heard of it, he went and seized her by the hand. That was all it took to make her right. Up she jumped and started cooking a skilly for 'em all. Later on that day, as the sun went down, all manner of folk gathered around about. Some had the pox, some had the plague, others was possessed of wicked spirits. Jesus fixed a lot of 'em. He drove out the devils and ordered 'em to keep their traps shut, for they'd caught wind of who he was. Next morning, just afore first watch, Jesus grabbed his kit and went off by himself to parley with the Almighty, leaving Simon and the rest of the crew in their bunks. When they woke to find him missing, they was mighty vexed and went out searching. They found him sure enough and said, "Ho there, Captain, here ye be. Don't you know that all the folks is looking for ye?" But Jesus didn't care for that kind of talk. Nor did he care for the kind of popularity that made his lads so pleased. "Dalliance over, boys. Get yourselves to the ship. The Almighty sent me to spread the word, and that's what we'll be doing henceforth." So they looked sharp and made ready. And that was the start of their first cruise. They went out hugging the coast and putting in at the harbours so Jesus could preach in the chapels and drive out the devils. One day, as they was standing offshore and preparing to sail, they was hailed by a swab in a dinghy. Leprous,